Okay, sound test. Okay, so welcome everyone. Hello. Today is going to be a very sad stream. Today's streams is dedicated to Ricardo. So, as you may know, probably if you're watching right now, I recently learned the very tragic news that Ricardo passed away. So this stream today is dedicated to him, to talk a little bit about who he was and the things he did for Tatoeba. So Ricardo, I think a lot of people knew him. He was a very prominent and respected member of Tatoeba. But yes, to our great sadness, he passed away recently at the very young age of 34, almost 35 actually. In fact, today, February 13, would have been his birthday. When I learned about his death, I checked his last activity on Tatoeba and noticed that he added this one sentence. On February 13, I'll be able to say I'm 35 years old, which makes this whole thing so much more sad. So, for the context, I've been planning to do a live stream with him a few weeks ago, and in fact, today's stream number 8, was supposed to be a stream where he would be the guest. But on the day we were supposed to meet, he told me that he wasn't feeling so well, so I told him no problem at all. We can postpone it to the next day if he gets better. But the next day, he told me that it was actually getting worse. So I told him not to worry and that he should get all the rest he can, and hopefully he recovers soon and we can do a stream later. That there's no rush at all. So I kept postponing the stream, waiting to hear from him again, but after almost 3 weeks, I think, 3 or 4, I think 3 weeks, with no news, I started to get a little bit worried, so I wrote to him to ask if he was okay. But the next day, I received a reply starting with, "Hi, this is Ricardo's mom." And yeah, she explained that Ricardo had a heart attack and he passed away on January 25. So yeah, I relayed the news as soon as I could to the Tatoeba community. And I think everybody who knew him is as shocked and saddened as I am to learn that Ricardo is no longer with us. So for today's stream, I just wanted to spend a bit of time to talk about him and the things he did for Tatoeba and the things he wanted to do. So who was Ricardo? So Ricardo was from Brazil, and he was a long-time member of Tatoeba. His profile account says member since 2014, but in fact, this is not his very first account. His early days in Tatoeba were rather clumsy, for lack of a better word, in the sense that he was not exactly a role model of the perfect contributor. He was making mistakes in his sentence, a lot of mistakes, or like missing punctuations and these kind of things. But he was always trying to improve himself, and over the years, he grew into someone who is very respected and very appreciated by the community. So I think this is something that everybody will say, that he was very friendly and very cheerful, always full of positivity. He was enthusiastic about everything. He was always eager to learn, and he was certainly not afraid to step out of his comfort zone. And he was also always trying to help. So like everyone who is actively contributing to Tatoeba, he had a passion for languages, and he worked as a language teacher, as a private language teacher. Right, so he was a corpus maintainer in Tatoeba. He's been a corpus maintainer for several years. I can't remember exactly when he was nominated, but yeah, it's been a while. He was taking care of the Portuguese sentences primarily, but he was also stepping in for other languages where there might not be a dedicated corpus maintainer. So that's why his list of languages, if you look at his profile, is so long. But yeah, so he was a corpus maintainer, but his role in Tatoeba actually did not stop there. So somewhere in 2025, that was, I think, before he became a corpus maintainer, he started being involved in the process of adding new languages to Tatoeba. He was basically taking care of creating the tickets in GitHub and preparing the pull requests to add the language. So yeah, to put things in perspective, he had no technical background at all, as far as I know. But he really wanted to help in any way he could, and so I taught him how to use Git, how to do pull requests, and he's been taking care of this technical part of adding languages to Tatoeba for several years. We actually had a live stream where he showed what he's doing when he's taking care of a language, of adding a new language. So yeah. Besides handling just the technical part of adding new language, he was also the front desk. He was handling the communication with people who request languages, making sure they provide the necessary information so that we can add the language, and answering any of their questions and keeping them updated on when their language will be added. So that was one of his important responsibilities in Tatoeba. Another one, more recent, is for the UI translations of Tatoeba. So in Transifex, this is where we handle our translations of the website itself. I entrusted him a couple of years ago with the management of these translations. So he was in charge of recruiting and guiding contributors who wanted to help translate Tatoeba's UI and basically to make the website available in more languages. So he had a big part in, let's say, increasing the language accessibility of Tatoeba, as we now have many more languages that are almost fully translated and usable in production. So yes, so he was also taking care of adding the new UI languages in the configuration of Tatoeba, and he was letting us know when a language is ready to be activated in production. And in fact, one of his last pull request was to enable Icelandic in the UI. So yeah, that's what I can share about who was Ricardo and what he did for Tatoeba. So of course there would be more to say, but on my side, I do not know him personally, so I think that's the case for most people on Tatoeba. We only know each other online. But nonetheless, if you want to know a bit more about him, just know that he's been part of several streams before. So if you want to get a sense of his character, you can watch those. Now I have to also take a bit of time to mention one of the things he wanted to do, and that's what we would have discussed in this stream if it weren't for these cruel fates. So that was on the topic of being able to download lists and translations as PDF files. He actually told me that he wanted to try and learn how to code. I think he even started taking some online courses about web programming. So for the anecdote, this is a topic that we were supposed to have in one of the earlier streams, and we did sort of have a stream. I think it was maybe the second stream. So we sort of had a stream, except I didn't realize that we weren't live because I forgot to actually click the live button, because YouTube's interface is a bit deceiving in that sense. So we were talking for over an hour and a half about this feature request and how we can approach it. But in the end, it was just an internal meeting between him and me. So I still wanted to share the whole idea about his request, and because yeah, that's something that should have been live but never went live. So in short, the reason why he wants to have PDF files is because he uses Lisp for his classes, like as a language teacher, and he explained to me that in some cases his class would take place offline because I think he goes to the student's place or he goes somewhere where they don't necessarily have internet access, and so in these situations he would copy paste sentences and their translations into just a file, and he would actually print it. And so obviously for him, if there was already a PDF that he didn't have to go through this whole manual process of copy pasting, it would have made his life a lot easier. Now obviously there are several things to take into consideration to implement such a feature, but this was a project that he seemed to be very motivated to work on, and he actually started to learn programming to be able to code for himself something that turns a list into a PDF. So yeah, Now the last thing I want to mention, and this is something that has been brought up by one of our members, Coach Iluk. I hope I'm not mispronouncing it. But Coach Iluk says many times ago he asked me to translate his favorite sentences. Perhaps it would be a good idea to translate our favorites among his favorites in our native languages. So yeah, if you'd like to take a bit of time to honor his memory, you can check this list and see if you can translate something. Right, so that's it, I think, on my side. This is just a very short stream to honor the memory of Ricardo. So yeah, all I can say now is farewell, Ricardo, and rest in peace, and Tatoeba will miss you. So take care, everybody. Bye bye.